Good evening. Pastor Arnie Coots from River of Life Church will provide the invocation this evening. If you would like to join us, please stand. After the invocation, please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let us pray. Precious Heavenly Father, we praise you, Lord. We thank you, Lord, for this wonderful day and for this opportunity, Lord, where we can gather together, free men, free women. Lord, we can gather together without any retribution from any man, because this is the greatest nation upon this earth. And Lord, I thank you for those who of you have set in authority over this nation, over this state, and Lord, over the city that we call Port Huron. Lord, I ask now that you would bless the men and women that are gathered here, Lord, with wisdom, with knowledge. Lord, that you would give them the compassion of Christ as they conduct the affairs of this city. But also, Lord, for the residents of this city, I bring forth unto thy remembrance the words of the psalmist. There shall be no evil befall thee, nor there shall be any plague come near thy dwelling. For he shall give his angels charge over thee, to keep thee in all thy ways. And we pray this in the name of thy precious holy Son, Jesus. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to call this regular meeting of the City Council to order and ask the clerk to please take the roll.
Councilmember Ashford.
Present.
Councilmember Beeden.
Here.
Councilmember Harris.
Here.
Councilmember Pemberton.
Here.
Councilmember Warden.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Archibald.
Here. Council has before them the minutes from the regular meeting of February 24th. Do I have a motion to accept the minutes as submitted?
So move.
Councilmember Ashford.
Support.
Councilmember Pemberton. All those in favor of accepting the minutes as submitted signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed signify by saying nay.
Nay.
Motion passes. We will move on to public hearings. The clerk would read the first item, please.
To hear comments on the proposed Michigan Department of Natural Resources Trust Fund grant application in an amount of up to $300,000 to assist with the completion of the gaps along the non-motorized pathway in Port Huron that is part of the Regional Bridge to Bay Trail. Following the hearing, Council will consider a resolution to authorize the submission of the grant application, and if funds are awarded, authorize the acceptance of the offer and provide for the required local match.
Now is the time for anyone in the audience who wishes to speak or to address the council concerning public hearing number 1. Please come forward, give your name and address for the record.
Hi, my name is Jim Soto, 2716 Maple Street, Port Huron, Michigan. I come to you here with a lot of hats on, not just this one. I am a professor of philosophy at St. Clair County Community College, and my recent research over the last couple of years has been moral decision-making in urban planning. And in particular, I've been focused on transportation and transportation safety, and because I'm a cyclist, I worry about getting killed on these streets here. And I want to point a couple of things out. First of all, this path or plan or Beta Bridge Trail or whatever it is has not been published. I do not have a way to give serious scrutiny to this because it has not been published yet. We do not know. But I can glean a couple of things from the proposal that's in front of you. First is there's this idea of having a bike path, nature trail, go along the canal. There's really no problem with that, right? That seems safe, that seems okay. My question to you is, how are people going to get there? How are people going to ride their bikes to that area? Are you going to send them on Gratiot Street as it is currently constructed without any separated bike infrastructure? Is that the plan? I don't know what the plan is because it hasn't been published. But in particular, if somebody is coming north on Gratiot and they are going to go to Holland at the intersection of Holland, are you asking them to then cross the street, cross Gratiot, then cross Holland, to get on this sidewalk, to get up to that? Is that the plan? Well, I don't know, because again, this plan has not been published. Second, if somebody is at that path or whatever it is and is going to come south, I have a question for you. Are they going to go and turn left at Elmwood on Gratiot? That is a 35-mile-per-hour speed zone right there. And again, I don't have the infrastructure in front of me. I don't have the plan. All of this, I'm bringing this up because I want to make sure that you guys are clear on this, that this path, plan, Beta Bridge Trail, whatever it is not going to address the real and serious cycling deficiencies and problems that you have in this city. Since 2004, from 2004 to 2018, 244 people on bikes have been hit by people driving cars. And I point something out, that nobody has done anything about it. Nothing. The overwhelming majority of these crashes have taken place from Glenwood south along 10th Street. 10th Street is so bad, it is so dangerous for people on bikes, you should shut it down as a public health hazard. People are using 10th as a main north-south arterial on their bikes, and they're getting hit. This is a staggering number, and yet nobody has done anything. I am concerned, I am deeply worried that you guys are going to build this Beta Bridge path and then think you are done. And in fact, if not done correctly, you are putting cyclists in even more risk. You're dropping people onto areas, especially on Gratiot, that is 35 and 40 miles an hour. You're dropping people into areas that are staggeringly dangerous. I need to see the entire plan. I need to see what level of separated bike infrastructure you're actually going to have before I can really make good comments on. But I want to point out, again, you're averaging 16 people a year getting hit. Let me just do a little philosophy for you. If there were 16 people a year being clubbed with a baseball bat, you would move heaven and earth to stop this. But 16 people on bikes getting hit a year, and you just do nothing. 10th Street is a problem. It needs to get fixed, and it needs to be addressed immediately. Not tomorrow, immediately. I just want to point out a couple of other things. That data has been available since 2004, and nobody has done anything. And I'm going to be a little more particular here. I am deeply skeptical of this administration's ability to do something about this. This administration's history when it comes to bike infrastructure and bikes has been kind of abysmal. There was an absolute failure with the bike rental scheme. It failed spectacularly, and it failed for predictable reasons. It failed because there is no bike infrastructure in the city. Since the city manager has been hired, I looked up the data from his hire date, 65 people on bikes have been hit from 2014 to 2018. I do not have the data yet for 2019, but I will make that available to you. Where's the urgency? Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience wishing to address the council on public hearing number 1? Seeing no one, I'll declare public hearing number 1 closed. We'll move to public hearing number 2, please. I'm sorry. Thank you very much. Do I have a motion to adopt the resolution for public hearing number 1, please?
So moved.
Councilmember Ashford, is there a second?
Support.
Councilmember Pemberton. Clerk will take the roll.
Any discussion?
No, just our discussion.
Discussion.
Sorry. Is there any discussion?
Madam Mayor Pro Tem, if I could provide some insight. The Bridge Bay Trail is already a route that's in place. The grant will be funded. We will not use any general fund money to match it. We'll use alternative private foundation money. The pathways include both designated bike lanes. They include both advisory signage, enhanced sidewalks, a whole host of the plan. The plan has been readily available at our Public Works Department. It has also been advertised heavily by the Community Foundation. There is a transportation task force within the Community Foundation of cyclists who have been working to identify this pathway and provide recommendations. The grant application, all of the work has been advised by the biking community through the foundation. And so it's a whole host. It's not just one type of bike lane or advisory lane or signage. It's a whole host of remedies to address the issue in the gaps.
Anyone council have any discussion, questions?
Mayor Pro Tem,
Councilmember Warden?
where is the plan available for somebody like in the public that,
It's been available at the Public Works Department and through the foundation for the last couple months.
so is it online or do they have to physically go there?
It's physically have to go there. Yep.
And is it something that can be deliverable if a council member, if I ask for it?
Absolutely.
Will they-
Absolutely.
Can they send it by email?
Yeah, in fact, I can download it and put it online tomorrow.
Okay, I'm just asking.
Yeah, we can do it. We can put it online if that's what you're
Didn't
requesting.
know. Well, I'm just, actually, just, I'm sure more than one person in our community might be interested now. I would like to see it as well. That'd be nice. I'd appreciate that.
Anyone else have any comments?
Oh, yeah, SimCog does a review of all that too, right?
Yeah, SEMCOG is
Yeah.
at the table on this as well.
Okay,
We had a meeting with MDOT on regarding non-motorized pathways. We had a meeting with DNR, SEMCOG officials, and the Community Foundation. Also, we had representatives there from additional foundations in Southeast Michigan who are looking at funding this. This is just the first step of many things we'll be doing.
Any further discussion?
Mayor Pro Tem?
Councilmember Warden?
That was just the question, you know, so we can have access to it. But I just want to speak to us as a city and having the availability to apply for these type of grants. You know, we've been very successful on many different types of grant applications that have helped out across our city. I am in full support of this submission of this grant application, and I think we might have another one on the agenda later as well. So I'll be supporting this. Thank you.
Thank you. If there's no further discussion, the clerk will take the roll.
Councilmember Ashford?
Yes.
Councilmember Beeden?
Yes.
Councilmember Harris?
Yes.
Councilmember Pemberton?
Yes.
Councilmember Warden?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Archibald.
Yes. We'll move to public hearing number 2, please.
To hear comments on the proposed Michigan Department of Natural Resources Recreation Passport Fund grant application in an amount of up to $150,000 to assist with the completion of the gaps along the non-motorized pathway in Port Huron that is part of the Regional Bridge to Bay Trail. Following the hearing, council will consider a resolution to authorize the submission of the grant application, and if funds are awarded, authorize the acceptance of the offer and provide for the required local match.
Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to address the council on public hearing number 2?
Yeah, one more addition. Jim Soto, 2716 Maple Street. I was part of the group of cyclists. I met once and with this Beta Bridge plan, and I left it. And I left it because I didn't like where it was going. And in particular, there was deep disagreements amongst the people, the cycling community, about this. And there's a couple of reasons why. First is you need to build bike infrastructure for 6-year-olds. A 6-year-old child needs to be able to be safe on whatever bike infrastructure that you build. Now, a path along the canal, of course, naturally, they're going to be safe there, no big deal, what have you. But again, I ask the question, how exactly are people going to get there? And in particular, Gratiot, as it is now, is staggeringly dangerous. Staggeringly dangerous. It rips through the north end. It rips through our neighborhoods. And is there any wonder why it's so loud and just awful? You should talk to people that live along Gratiot. right in between Gratiot Park and Garfield. It's really difficult there. But I want to add one more thing, and I want to plant this idea in your head, and I want you to please remember this, that there is a difference when it comes to building bike lanes and bike infrastructure. There's a difference between transportation and recreation. Now, the line is thin. You can use a recreational path as transportation. The majority of people ride their bikes in the city of Port Huron are in the south end of the city, and they are riding their bikes to try and get to and from grocery stores, to try and get to and from pharmacies, to try and to and from doctor's appointments and dentists and party stores and all of these sorts of things. And they're getting hit. And this does not address the problems that we face. I always say this, you know, hey, more bike infrastructure, hell yeah, build it. But the problem is I cannot use this to get to the grocery store because it's going to end at Fairway. And I don't even know how to get to that. I live 3 miles away from a grocery store and I cannot ride my bike to it because Gratiot's that scary. So build it. I have no problem with that. In fact, yeah, go for it. I want more bike infrastructure and everything. But what I'm deeply concerned with is that you're going to think you're done, and you're not. Because unless you start addressing the problems, I know what the numbers, the statistical numbers are. 16 more people are going to get hit in the year 2020.
Is there not a sidewalk on Gratiot?
Sidewalks are not bike infrastructure.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience wishing to address the council on public hearing number 2? Seeing no one, I declare public hearing number 2 closed. Do I have a motion to adopt the resolution?
So move.
Councilmember Ashford, is there a second?
Support.
Councilmember Beeden. Is there any discussion?
Pro Tem.
Councilmember Harris.
Yeah, if I could, you know, he mentioned something from the audience here, and the fact is there's a couple people that I know, they live on Garfield Street, and they just bought electric assisted bicycles, which is really, surprisingly, it's a huge trend. And I did a little research just by accident stuff, and they have some that do 60 miles an hour. So I hope there's some consideration when we start doing this structure that SEMCOG recognizes that fact. And it's a growing industry. The gap right now in the industry is with the lithium-ion batteries. The companies are basically putting a line of bicycles out there, but they're not having replacement batteries for them. So your bike dies, the battery dies, and the bike dies. But it's not a struggling industry; it's a thriving industry. Probably more so where it's warmer, but it's something that needs to be considered. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? The clerk will take the roll.
Councilmember Beeden?
Yes.
Councilmember Harris?
Yes.
Councilmember Pemberton?
Yes.
Councilmember Warden?
Yes.
Councilmember Ashford?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Archibald.
Yes. We'll move to the public comment period of the meeting. If anyone in the audience wishes to address the council on any item on the agenda or any other item under our jurisdiction, now is the time to do so. You'll have 4 minutes. Again, please give your name and address for the records.
Good evening. I'm Ernest Worth Toward, 1915 6th Street. I'm the CEO of Blue Water Habitat for Humanity for St. Clair and Sanilac counties. I would like to address item 2016 in regards to accepting the proposal for the amount of $125,000 for the purchase of installation of new playground equipment at Lincoln Park with the assistance from the James C. Atchison Foundation in the amount of $50,000. So that you know, that is part of a partnership with Blue Water Habitat for Humanity and the Blue Water Chamber of Commerce. And we are doing our 2nd annual Rock the Block in that North and South Boulevard area. I would like support on this because there are other funds and grants tied to that through Blue Water Habitat for Humanity. And we are going to serve, besides the help in that park and all of the people in our area that get to utilize that park, We will be working with 16 homes in that area as well to help refurbish, whether that being their porch, their outside exteriors, and including roofs for some of those homes, along with sidings as well. So critical home repairs as well as beautification projects too. So Blue Water Habitat for Humanity, along with the Blue Water Chamber of Commerce, urge you to support this. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to address the council this evening? Seeing no one, I declare public comment period closed. We will now move to the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to adopt the consent agenda, please?
So moved.
Councilmember Pemberton, is there a second?
Support.
Councilmember Beeden. Clerk will take the roll.
Councilmember Harris.
Yes.
Councilmember Pemberton.
Yes.
Councilmember Warden.
Yes.
Councilmember Ashford.
Yes.
Councilmember Beeden. Yes. Mayor Pro Tem Archibald.
Yes. Items adopted under the consent agenda include authorizing the submission of a grant application to the Christopher and Dana Reeve Foundation's Quality of Life Program to request consideration of a grant in an amount of up to $25,000 for the purchase and installation of accessible play equipment at Gratiot Park that is designed to accommodate individuals living with paralysis, and authorizing the submission of a special liquor license application to the Michigan Department of Licensing and Regulatory Affairs Liquor Control Commission for the City of Port Huron's Rocking the Rivers event on Thursday evenings during the month of August at Kiefer Park, and recommending the license be issued. We will move on to from the city manager, please.
Accepting the bid from Jorgensen Ford in the amount of $68,594 for two 2020 Ford Explorer utility vehicles in accordance with the State of Michigan My Deal purchasing program, and authorizing an estimated tear-down and rebuild cost not to exceed $8,600 per patrol vehicle.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Councilmember Ashford, is there a second?
Support.
Councilmember Beeden. Discussion?
Madam Mayor Pro Tem, these were budgeted items.
Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem,
Yes.
just a quick question of, these are going to be replacing some vehicles? I appreciate the little summary here, but are we?
Correct. We do a rotation, so we'll take the two oldest vehicles as they approach over 100,000 miles, and then rotate them out to non-emergency use, whether that be code enforcement,
Okay, yeah.
cadet work.
Yeah, my follow-up question would have been if we're going to be putting them out there to try to get some salvage value for them, but we're going to be keeping them for a while?
Yeah, how it typically works is when we bring a new car in, it's like a food chain, and then we just keep pushing down lower and lower and lower until eventually a building inspector has a car that's not roadworthy, and then we kind of shoot that one out. And so you'll see like it'll go from a patrol car to a cadet vehicle to a building inspector, and then it'll go down to maybe a blight inspector, and then at that point we just auction them off. So this will probably put two of the old Crown Vics out of business that they're using someplace in the food chain.
Thank you.
Any further discussion?
Yeah,
Councilmember Ashford?
yeah, under my deal, our local dealers are in.
Yep,
that,
correct.
so
Yep.
I just want to make sure, this is from Detroit, but they had every opportunity through my deal to do this. So
Correct.
Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Councilmember Harris?
City Manager Freed, what's the trend on these as far as costs go? It looks like it's rising faster than the rate of inflation, but
Well, they're not getting cheaper, that's for sure. But they are lasting a little bit longer. We've seen a lot better durability with these Ford. Plus, these are the Interceptors. They're actually built for police use, and police use is a little rough sometimes. Plus the wear and tear. So they're good vehicles. They work out well for us. So at least the quality's there, American made.
thank you.
Any further discussion? The clerk will take the roll, please.
Councilmember Pemberton.
Yes.
Councilmember Warden.
Yes.
Councilmember Ashford.
Yes.
Councilmember Beeden. Yes. Councilmember Harris.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Archibald.
Yes. From the city manager, number 2, please.
Accepting the proposal from Secure Door LLC in the amount of $11,382 for for the removal and replacement of the 2 existing overhead sectional doors at the city's utility service building located at 1808 Bancroft Street.
Do I have a motion?
So,
Councilmember Ashford, Councilmember Pemberton. Any discussion?
Madam Mayor Pro Tem, just know that these are original doors. They're older than I am, and it's just standard wear and tear.
Any further discussion?
Mayor Pro Tem?
Councilmember Warden.
Just a question on the overhead doors. We're getting these are for the doors themselves. Is there anything to do with the automated? I would assume they're automated to open and close. Is there?
I believe so. We'll
I
have
was
Whitaker
wondering
come
if
up.
that's.
I think that's part of the deal, but we'll have Whitaker come up as well, just in case I'm wrong.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. To answer your question, yes, this is the removal and replacement of both overhead doors, tracks, springs, that sort of thing. The one door, the door opener itself is relatively new, so that's going to be salvaged and reinstalled, but the other door has to be replaced because it's aging and faulty as well. So it's one overhead door opener, and then obviously 2 new doors and all their hardware and associated parts.
Thank you very much.
I mean, whatever.
Councilmember Ashford.
Okay. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. So there's quite a bit of repairs going on, costs, rising higher costs?
It's been pretty costly the last couple of years, and obviously, there's one of the doors being the south one that opens. They all both open frequently, but it's opened so much and closed that the last time it was repaired, because of all the different plates and bolts and things that have been in and out, the person making the repair said that next time it fails, we can't make the repair.
So it isn't so much as it's so old as it is operational.
It's the wear and tear.
It's the wear and tear.
Yep.
Any further questions for Mr. Witter while we have him at the podium? Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Any other discussion from council? The clerk will take the roll, please.
Councilmember Warden,
Yes.
Councilmember Ashford,
Yes.
Councilmember Beaton,
Yes.
Councilmember Harris,
Yes.
Councilmember Pemberton,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Archibald.
Yes. From the city manager, number 3, please.
Accepting the proposal from Allied Building Services in the amount of $22,620 for the removal and replacement of the natural gas water heaters at the Utility Services Building located at 1808 Bancroft Street.
Do I have a motion?
So move.
Councilmember Ashford, is there a second?
Support.
Councilmember Beaton. Any discussion?
Madam Mayor Pro Tem, these were budgeted items, however, they're slightly over budget, so we'll account for that in our amendment, but it's about $7,000 over budget. But they were budgeted items.
Any discussion from council?
Yeah, I know that they were like about 7,000 over. And just so, you know, on the terms of educational, why do we have 3? Why couldn't we have 1?
I do
Daily
believe
service,
they do believe they run it.
different. I'm
It's-
sorry.
It's a large building, and they also have a lab in there as well.
Right, oh, okay. I got you. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Clerk will take the roll, please.
Councilmember Ashford,
Yes?
Councilmember Beaton,
Yes.
Councilmember Harris,
Yes.
Councilmember Pemberton,
Yes.
Councilmember Warden,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Archibald.
Yes. From the city manager, number 4, please.
Accepting the quote from BS&A Software Incorporated in the amount of $19,545 for the addition of the work orders application software to the previously purchased financial, payroll, and human resources management software.
Is there a motion?
So move.
Councilmember Ashford, is there a second?
Support.
Councilmember Pemberton. Any discussion?
If you want the description, the third paragraph down, it's essentially proprietary to our operations. This should allow for some interfacing with the other parts of the department, which would provide for better customer service. Bruce will come down and give a more detailed techie explanation. Bruce, I do believe this is your first time on live TV?
Yes.
Well, congratulations. Say hello to your wife.
Thank you. I wasn't part of a lot of the discussions when this was brought up, but the way that our work orders, the way that we currently do it, does not interface well. And the new way through BS&A, this would create improved efficiencies in our staff as well as customer service. they will have immediate responses between BSNA and the people in the field to turn on and shut off water.
And this will be proprietary to our operations, which would include the coding for it.
And other departments can use it as well.
Getting a lot of use out of it. Yeah,
Councilmember
Mayor Pro
Ashford.
Tem, yeah, I know you haven't, to be fair to you, haven't been here, but with all the other changes in the software that we've been doing, so the integration of it all, so is that working all right?
Yes, yes, very well, very
Okay,
well.
Good, okay. So any problems? I mean,
No,
oh,
no, not so far. It's
That's-
been really good.
okay, good, thank you.
If I could add, the IT department has done an excellent job with scheduling in-service training. So they're bringing in all the boots on the ground, going through tutorials on everything from how to put an invoice in, to how to log the time. And so that in-service training has been really helpful for all the different departments to become familiar with this new system. So
Oh,
that's been working.
So if the capacity was at 100%, just hypothetically, we're doing about, what, 75 or 85% usage? You say it goes across, yeah, everybody can use it, so we're using it to its fullest potential?
Yeah, right now we are, yes. Yep.
Great.
Any further questions?
Mayor Pro Tem?
Councilmember Warden?
Again, this software, the additional software, this, when you guys mentioned, just so I can grasp it, when somebody's has work order, somebody out in the field for a shut-off or potential shut-off for water, is that what you mentioned? That here at home base, this is gonna allow them to have real time on from the customer's side? Like again, I think it was probably 2 or 3 accounts, well, maybe within the last few months, we had a customer, or not a customer, a citizen come in and said, hey, they had water shut-off guys at their house, and they didn't have for 2 months. They never received a bill. And I thought, is this something that's going to have it so it's more available, so they'll be able to see if he contacts the city themselves and they come in, or contacts the water department for billing to say, hey, when was that bill sent out, or, they're going to be able to see on both sides on that, or?
We can do that now. We have been able to do that.
Okay.
So this is, again, modernization, taking it off the mainframe and integrating with our new payroll and financial systems so they can interface with each other and have communication. But as for that specific nature, we've always been able to do that.
Okay, so, all right, well, I appreciate that clarity. Thank you.
Councilmember Harris?
Yeah, I was just going to comment, I know in our monthly stipend from the city of Port Huron, there was a new receipt with it, and it was like a little more explanatory than what it has been in the past. And maybe it's just another step in the right direction, so thank you.
Any further discussion? Thank you. The clerk will take the roll.
Councilmember Beeden?
Yes.
Councilmember Harris?
Yes?
Councilmember Pemberton?
Yes.
Councilmember Warden?
Yes.
Councilmember Ashford?
Yes?
Mayor Pro Tem Archibald?
Yes. From the city manager, number 5, please.
Accepting the proposal from Panchera LLC in the amount of $125,000 for the purchase and installation of new playground equipment at Lincoln Park with assistance from the James C. Atchison Foundation in the amount of $50,000.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Councilmember Pemberton and Councilmember Ashford. Any discussion?
Madam Mayor Pro Tem, I have Nancy Windsor here for some explanation.
Mayor Pro Tem Archibald and City Council. So this project, first of all, I just wanted to say thank you to Chamber of Commerce and Habitat for Humanity for this great project. I think it's going to be a true transformation of the neighborhood between the 16 houses that they're looking at revamping. And then when Ernest approached me about doing the park piece, another great, I think that a park makes the whole neighborhood look that much better. Lincoln Park was the third, remember I talked to you about where the playgrounds fell in line of needing to be repaired. They're third in line. So, when we had this opportunity to hit one of our top 3, it was a great opportunity. And I also like to take this opportunity to thank the James C. Atchison Group and Donna Neester for just always stepping up to the plate when we need them the most. And I really do think this project is going to be a transformation. I think we might have a picture of the, so don't get too excited because it could change a little bit, but we're going to go with a boat theme. It's a bigger piece at Lincoln Park now, It's a wood structure, so there's a lot of rotting of the wood because it's been there since the 80s. So it's going to be a great asset. And again, I just want to thank the groups that are participating, because without them, this wouldn't all come together. And as Ernest said, it's tied to many other different things as well. So I'd like to thank everyone for, and I mean, Mr. Atchison is just for the rec department all the time and probably behind the scenes that people don't always realize, but the minute we called them, they were right on board. So thank you to them as well. We got a couple other donors kind of in the wings as possible too, but we're not there yet to know exactly. But it's definitely something that's needed. So I'll entertain any other questions, I think.
Any discussion or questions from council?
Mayor Pro Tem,
Councilmember Beeden.
I would just like to say thank you to Nancy for always just keeping our parks top of mind and letting us know we're taking care of the worst ones first, and also to the Chamber and to Habitat for Humanity for really looking at all sides of the issue and attacking it head on. And I think transforming 16 homes in any neighborhood and creating a park is really going to make an impact. So I want to say thank you.
Anyone else?
Mayor.
Councilmember Harris.
I just one question. I
Yeah.
went down and visited Lincoln Park today, and didn't we just rededicate that about 2 years ago?
We did, and what we did was we replaced some of the equipment around it that was in really bad shape, and we didn't have enough for the scape itself. But it is in pretty poor shape, and
I like your explanation, because right now, looking at it today, I said, where are they going to put all this stuff?
yeah,
Because we're kind of at our limits, with the boulevard, so.
yeah. It's the piece in the middle that'll come out, the new equipment that was put around, which was also donated by Mr. Atchison, and that's why when we dedicated the park to him,
Well, we had action on their ice pond this year, so I think the action in the park is going to be phenomenal.
and I
so.
know Ernest has a couple surprises in the wings of groups that he's working with for different amenities to the parks as well, but until we get them all finalized, we'll know a little bit more as we go along. And then just as a quick update, I mean, we have Gratiot #1. I always get this question a lot, so if I can address it just real quick. Gratiot is still #1 on the list. We're working with MRS to put that piece together. We're hoping to do an all-inclusive park, a park that's inclusive for all at Gratiot, and MRS, which is Michigan Rehab Services, are working with us on that, and hopefully to gather more funding, and it'll be good for all kids. So, finding that spot that's not just accessible, but functional and fun, not just, oh, we put a ramp there, so, great. No, like, is it things that all kids of all abilities can use? So we're getting to our top 3 here, and I appreciate the support of the city council on making that happen. So I just wanted to address that because I have had that question.
Any further discussion?
Mayor.
Councilmember Ashford? No. Councilmember Warden?
Thank you. Well, first of all, I want to mirror the comments of fellow councilwoman Lisa Beeden. Number one, of course, thanks, Nancy, for all that you do and how much work behind the scenes and how you get the community together. And also, I want to thank, of course, the Chamber of Commerce and Habitat for Humanity to come forward even here to kind of share, because you guys do a lot of stuff that you don't get recognized for. You're doing it all the time in our community. I see all of you out there constantly involved in our community on this, and I thought, what a genius, great idea to kind of address up to 16 houses as well for some of those touch-ups or fix-ups, or even if it's new roofs and siding and so forth. It's kind of the vision and thought I've always had of, hey, if we can just go after and help certain communities out and do that type of thing in a certain area one at a time, it's going to improve, and you guys are the leaders. So I appreciate you guys coming here tonight. Appreciate your help.
And I'm glad you called that out, because it was really not my idea. I have to give it all. Ernest came to me about, transforming the park with the neighborhood, and he really was the one that got the ball rolling on that, so I appreciate it.
Yep. Thank you.
Councilmember Ashford?
Yeah. Oh, I just want to give a shout out to B-Rock. I know you that helped with the ice pond out at the south end, because they came and helped try to put that together. And I too would like to congratulate the Chambers and the Habitat for Humanity. It's not all the time that you want to be recognized and want to be thanked you, because that could be overkill, especially when you do it from your heart, because it's the right thing to do, to come together. And that is one thing that Port Huron has shown us, that you can come together, to be together, to have a win-win for all. And I think the biggest thank you is when the people of the community recognize that and use it to its fullest potential and let you know, because that's where your biggest thanks is going to come from. It's not so much us, with the pat on the back, but I'm sure it's our residents out there that are the recipients of this act of kindness that you're doing. So I just want to thank you from the heart, from your heart, for being that upfront with it. So thanks, Ernest. Thanks, Thelma. And thanks, Joyce.
Nancy,
Thanks,
do you
Nancy.
And Nancy.
I want to get beat up again. Thank you, Nancy. Love you, girl.
Nancy, do you have a timeline for completion?
Well, the Rock the Block's happening the end of May and beginning of June, right? June 6th? June. Okay. And
Oh,
so
that's
the
what-
playground will be on the same,
So that's
the
perfect.
same schedule. The playground will be
Okay.
done when that project's done, so the end
So
of June
Rock
at
the
the
Block
latest.
too is all of it, right? Okay, all of it.
Yeah, yes, please.
Come join me.
One of the pieces that Nancy just hinted at was that we have access to the prison build system, which helps us with our housing projects. And Nancy does not know this yet because we have not had a lot of time together today, but the Michigan prison system, build system, is going to assist with other pieces in the park, including if we want the new picnic tables and the benches. So I wanted to have that.
That's great.
Thank you, and thank to all the partners for everything that you've all done to put this together. We really appreciate it. Nancy, thank you for your forward thinking of all of our parks throughout the entire city. I know you are always looking at what can we do next, and usually are bringing something to us before we can even think to ask, so we appreciate that as well. Any further discussion? The clerk will take the roll, please.
Councilmember Harris?
Yes.
Councilmember Pemberton?
Yes.
Councilmember Warden?
Yes.
Councilmember Ashford?
Yes.
Councilmember Beeden?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Archibald?
Yes. From the city manager, number 6, please.
Accepting the quote from 360 in the amount of $61,000 for the removal of the existing seats and the installation of the newly donated seating at the McMorran Place Arena.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Councilmember Beeden, is there a second?
Support.
Councilmember Pemberton? Any discussion?
Madam Mayor Pro Tem, again, we had about $500,000 of seats donated to McMorran. This is a company that installed them in the Palace of Auburn Hills in the first place. If we were to try to do this ourselves, it would take almost equal amount in labor and overtime plus time. We really want to get them in a timely fashion between seasons. I know that the McMorran Commission is going to work on a plan for the retiring old seats. I know those are kind of everyone's got a piece of history and a memory in those seats. So to the community, those will be made available for sale to the community through the McMorran Commission. They will work out the logistics on how those will be disposed of, but there will be an opportunity for people in the community to buy a seat or a few seats, or how many seats they probably want, based on demand. We actually believe the sales of the seats will cover most of the installation cost.
Any further discussion?
Mayor Pro Tem,
Councilmember Harris?
just one comment after a Wednesday morning meeting at McMorran. I think they did the best thing they could is accepting this company, and I guess one of the big things, I did talk to an architect, and they said the biggest thing going forward with these things is the building standards, the building code standards. And being this company is one that put it into the palace, and they're going to do the job, I think they're probably superior. I think if we took the local contractors and placed it in a bid form, that it might be extensively more than what we're going to get it done for. So I just wanted to say they did, I think, a good job on this, so thank you.
Any further discussion?
Mayor Pro Tem,
Councilmember Beeden?
just a clarification, between seasons, what's the date, really, the range?
Well, it depends on how good the prowlers do, but about April is when the ice comes out, just be safe, right, April? End of April.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? If I could just add to Councilmember Harris, it was also discussed that this company, because they did install the seats originally, have access to a lot of bolts and excess parts that we may need, that we would otherwise have to find and buy in order to do this. And so that was one of the other reasons that, one of the McMorran Commission members, we discussed and decided that it made more sense to go with the company that installed them. One, they know how, but they're also going to give us all of the parts that we are lacking and we know we are lacking some of the things that we need to bolt the seats down and that type of thing. So they're going to provide that free of cost to us and include it into this bid. If there's no further discussion, the clerk will take the roll, please.
Councilmember Pemberton?
Yes.
Councilmember Warden?
Yes.
Councilmember Ashford?
Yes.
Councilmember Beeden?
Yes.
Councilmember Harris?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Archibald.
Yes. From the city manager, number 7, please.
Accepting the quote from Michigan Rescue Concepts in the amount of $6,480 for the purchase of 16 water rescue kits for all administrative, criminal investigation division, and plainclothes vehicles.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Councilmember Ashford?
Support.
Councilmember Pemberton? Any discussion?
Madam Mayor, we currently, Mayor Pro Tem, we currently have these rescue kits in our marked scout cars for the police department. However, we have a significant amount of resources on the road that are unmarked vehicles, whether it be undercover officers, detective bureau, or criminal investigations bureau. These vehicles are often around town and also have radios, so when a call for distress comes in, they oftentimes can be the first at the scene as well. So we thought it would be beneficial to equip all of our vehicles with these kits. I believe Chief has a quick video to play. Chief wants to come up and give a little more detail on what these are. You want to play your video as you're walking up, Chief? Give you some entry music?
Yes, there's someone in the water. He's in trouble. I'm at the east end of the lake.
161 walking. We still have a victim in the water. Advise aid. I don't have any rescue equipment. I do.
He's over there.
Rope. Grab the rope. Put it around your shoulder.
What happened?
I got my foot caught in the knee.
Are you okay?
Yeah.
161 walking. We've got a man in the water. Don't advise aid.
Oh, no, I'm good.
You can always count on a sheriff's deputy showing up.
Oh, no, you just did.
My
You want me to hit him for you, Chief?
Chairman Archibald and City Council. We do have all these in our marked patrol cars. It wasn't until recently, we do water training every 3 years down at Marysville High School. We recently completed that in February, and we realized that we don't have these kits in any of our plainclothes vehicles. So admin, plainclothes, detectives, our drug task force officers are assigned out to those units. And we realized that we're out on the road just as much as the uniform patrol cars. And several years ago, myself and Officer Minesberg, while we were working plainclothes, were down at the foot of Grizzle Street when a water rescue came out. We sat there and watched the individual float down the water, and we couldn't do nothing until the uniform patrol car showed up. And I don't know why it took me this long to ask for this piece of equipment. It wasn't until our recent training that we realized that we need them in our vehicles. And just quickly, where this all started from is back in July of 2010, we had a water rescue along the Thomas Edison Parkway. And 9 times out of 10, and I'll even put it at 10 times out of 10, we're the first responders to the scene. We beat fire, tri, and the Marine Division to these incidences. Officer Chad Smith noticed a 17-year-old male in the water that was drowning. And it's not like you see on TV where they're flailing their arms asking for help. this person was actually going underneath the water. Officer Chad Smith disregarded his own safety, took off his gun belt, and actually dove into the water after this person had swam out into the St. Clair River. Once he reached this individual, the individual almost drowned Officer Smith because this individual was trying to keep himself above water, and there was a struggle that ensued. The old equipment that we used to carry was a life ring. When we threw the life ring out to Officer Chad Smith and this individual, it actually sank from being dry rotted. We went to go throw him a rope that we carried in our cars. The rope was about 20 feet too short. So luckily, they were able to get some equipment out to Officer Chad Smith and this individual. Officer Chad Smith did save this individual's life. And after that, it wasn't until 2011 that we went to these kids. So all patrol cars have them, but what we're asking for now is to put them in all other vehicles that are on the road. So.
A couple things as well. One of the questions I asked is they don't expire. So this is a one-time cost as well. So you have this type of water rescue, but this is also, look at the approach of water safety we've done over the last 2 years. You also combine this with the rapid rescue for the fire training. So our fire rigs, so if someone's underwater, we now have the fire trucks of the rapid rescue that Chief Nicholson has been putting together. So every station has 2 rapid rescue dives. So if someone's underwater, we have the rapid rescue dive, and then we have this for if they're on top of the water or can be saved. So we've really invested a lot in water safety, both on the fire side and the police side, so this kind of just makes sense to fill that void with these tools. So I like that they didn't expire. Like he was saying, the life rings, these life rings, they have a lifespan, and these don't. So they're good, one-time purchase.
Any further discussion?
Mayor Pro Tem.
Councilmember Warden?
Chief, thank you for, again, bringing this forward. Just a quick thing on, I think it's a great idea to have it in every one of your vehicles. When you notice how innovative it is to throw it out there, then the unit inflates. And of course, the rope or the line there. If you have to use one of these things, I mean, can it be reused again, or is there do we know, is there a way just to easily replace one of the kits for the next vehicle, to put in the next one that will inflate that inflatable life ring that gets?
Yeah, so inside these kits, you have the throw rope.
Yep.
Which we throw it out there. We actually did water training. You just have to let it dry before you put it back in the bag.
Mm-hmm.
This is the rescue stick. So once this is thrown out there, once this hits the water, it inflates. There's a CO2 cartridge in here, so we just have to replace the CO2
Great.
cartridge. And then this is for our use here. So we would put this around our waist, we put it over, and if we knew we were going in the water, we pull this and it would inflate.
Nice.
We tested all this equipment, and it actually will hold us up with all of the equipment that we wear. So again, all we'd have to do is replace the CO2 cartridge in this.
Thank you. Appreciate it, and definitely in support of this and keeping you guys safe and giving you a little more tools there as well.
Councilmember Ashford.
Yeah, I'm always into giving you guys what you need to do your job, and I see it's a lifetime because you can reset all that material. That's why it's a life. It doesn't expire because you reset it all. Yeah. And then another caveat to that is that along our waterways, we need to be prepared in as much as we can for whatever should happen to come up. It's a great thing, you know, if not now, when. So you came up with it, so it's good. It's all good. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Clerk will take the roll, please.
Councilmember Warden?
Yes.
Councilmember Ashford?
Yes.
Councilmember Beeden?
Yes.
Councilmember Harris?
Yes.
Councilmember Pemberton?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Archibald?
Yes. From the city manager, number 8, please.
Accepting the quote from Shallow Creek Kennels in the amount of $8,000 for the purchase of a new police canine.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Councilmember Beeden, is there a second?
Support.
Councilmember Pemberton, any discussion?
Madam Mayor, Pro Tem, and Council, Officer Chad Smith, who's one of our canine handlers, is being promoted to detective. His dog is about 1 year, 2 years, a little bit younger than we typically retire them. However, the liability of transferring that dog to a different handler is just too great. Those dogs are trained with that handler, and it's not the kind of friendly pet you just hand off to somebody. So we will retire that canine and send it home with Officer Smith and his family. We do have a designated fund with donated funds to purchase a new canine. So we have been working with Shallow Creek before, and they have been supplying our canines, and so this will become from donated funds from the Knight Dorothea Knight, I believe, provided these funds. Is that correct?
Mayor Pro Tem Archibald and City Council, yes, this comes from the Canine Services Fund, which has been supported by Dorothea Knight.
And you'll identify a new canine handler in the next couple of weeks?
Yes, we'll be going through an interview process, so they had to put in an application with our department, and then we'll do the interviews, and then they'll be selected. Lieutenant Frazier oversees our canine program. And then we have Officer Jennifer Sly. She's one of our canine officers. She's been a canine officer for 16 years, and she's actually a master trainer in the state of Michigan. So they will be on the board, and they'll be selecting our next canine officer, and then Officer Sly will be heavily involved in the purchase of our new dog.
Any further discussion?
Yeah.
Councilmember Ashford?
Yes, we received a memo. Can you expound a little bit more on the marijuana significance?
I'm going to bring our canine expert, Lieutenant Frazier.
I thought I'd get him up. Because some of these things, you know, you can do it like a blanket, but when you can understand some of those little intricate things, it makes it much better.
Yes, ma'am. What's your specific question about it?
Well, the specific question is the significance that you wrote to us about one of the most important things is about the marijuana training as far as the dogs were. Could you speak to that?
Yes. So this has been on the radar for canine officers and handlers for about since the legalization of marijuana in '08. It's been as complicated as you guys all know from the recent trip down looking at marijuana facilities. The marijuana law is very confusing, okay, for lack of a better term. And the state of Colorado is kind of the forefront of this, where they're actually experienced a lot of different cases with this, to the point where judges there are ruling canine sniffs of the probable cause that gives the officer to do a search as unconstitutional. I actually reviewed it with our local prosecutor, the Chief Assistant Steve Gilead, to get his opinion on this. He believes, in his professional opinion, that the same trend that's occurring in Colorado and the western states will make its way here in the next few years. So really, when I presented this memo, the legalization, although it's not here yet, the canine sniffs for marijuana are still considered legal. They still meet the probable cause standard. He foresees that Colorado's legislation will come this way eventually. And also too, so in this particular case for Blaze, he'll be about 5 years old, not quite, when Chad Smith is promoted. And typically a canine, when it gets about 7 years old, that's when you look to, he's a German Shepherd. He's a particularly large German Shepherd. German Shepherds are subject to hip dysplasia, and when they're larger like that, it's more apt to occur. So usually dogs around that 7-year range is when you look to transfer them out and bring another one on anyway. So in this case, by the time you transfer the dog to a new handler, that handler and that dog would not even be trained until this fall. You're looking at maybe a year and a half of service life with that new dog and the new handler, and it's just not really a good mesh. And then you couple that with marijuana legalization, just gets ahead of the game. The current state police newest canine handler here, that dog is not trained in marijuana, and I think the Michigan State Police is following the same trend as well.
Okay, so yours is more of a preventive positioning.
Well, it's really, if it wasn't for the promotion of Chad Smith, we would continue with that current dog.
Right.
But because of the transition with the promotion that it's creating, that's why we're looking at this.
Great, okay. All right, thank you.
Any further questions?
Go ahead.
I just have a couple comments. Congratulations to Officer Smith and Blaze. It's been great that he's going to be able to stay with them. I know the tight bond and the training there. I understand thank you for that memo that you gave us in advance. I can see where giving off false readings once something like that changes or or they're not, you're going to have to get trained without that, I guess. So I'm in full support of this. I think and we're very blessed, again, also with Officer Sly as well in our department here, to have the K-9 involved in it to protect our city. And I think this is the right path to go. So appreciate it. Thank you.
Any further discussion?
I offered to sell my good boy a home for half the price of cheap, but he was not interested in Winston, who, by the way, is not marijuana trained either, so that's
Why he's not interested. The clerk will take the roll, please.
Good boy.
Councilmember Ashford?
Oh, yes.
Councilmember Beeden?
Yes.
Councilmember Harris?
Yes.
Councilmember Pemberton?
Yes.
Councilmember Warden?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Archibald?
Yes. We will move to resolutions. The clerk will read the first resolution, please.
Authorizing 12 payments.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Support.
Councilmember Ashford and Councilmember Pemberton. Any discussion?
Mayor Pro Tem,
Councilmember Harris.
could we have a separate vote on item 7, please?
Item 7.
On J. Rank Electric?
Okay.
Okay, any other discussion?
Yes.
Councilmember Ashford?
Yeah, I'd just like explanation. We have two change orders here, number 7, and I guess we could talk about that. Well, change orders and number reasonable construction services.
Yeah, reasonable construction services for about $12,000. When we replaced the roof at the water filtration plant, there's several skylights up there. And when we got up there and began taking off the roof, we realized that those skylights were rotting, and they were about $1,500 a piece. And so now was the time when you had the roof off to replace those skylights that were rotting. And so that replaced all of the skylights on the roof with the new roof. And we didn't know that until we got up there and took the roof off that those skylights were rotting.
Oh, okay, so that's my point. You had to go through that process
Correct.
in order to detect that.
Yep.
Okay, that's reasonable construction. So what about number 7? You want to hold that for?
Yes, let's hold that to-
Okay, because he separated that. All right, thank you.
Anything else on the remaining resolution or items? We will take the roll.
Councilmember Beeden?
Yes.
Councilmember Harris?
Yes.
Councilmember Pemberton?
Yes.
Councilmember Warden?
Yes.
Councilmember Ashford?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Archibald?
Yes. Do I have a motion for authorizing item number 7, please?
So moved.
Councilmember Pemberton, is there a second?
Support.
Councilmember Ashford, discussion?
Mayor Pro Tem, I guess my question still is on the part here, and I don't know if we've included this in other payments prior, but the message of charging sales tax. The city was very generous and provided me a lot of information on this, and I looked at some of it, and Rank Electric was really cognizant of the fact that these two generators hadn't had the sales tax paid on them from the company they bought them from. I think it's a Caterpillar company, but and the bottom line of it is under Michigan statutes and stuff, the Michigan legislator, under the General Sales Tax Act, the city of Port Huron is prevented from paying sales tax. And I personally think Rank made a mistake. Whether we can overcome that or not, but I generally think that from what I've seen and provided the information from the city of Port Huron that it's would be an erroneous payment. So that's just my opinion. Thank you.
Any other discussion?
I will just speak up to defend Rank, and it was not their mistake. It was our mistake. Whenever we do a single source on a specific item that we are detailing, whether it be a generator or a specific part or pump, we always put in the bid an allocation for sales tax. If we did not do that, you would have every single contractor and company ever doing work for the city essentially making us purchase our parts and material separate so they don't have to pay sales tax on it and not factoring it into their bid. And so when we single source provide specific product, a specific generator or a specific pump or whatever it is, we always put an allotment for sales tax in the bid. We did not do that, and this would have been afforded to any single person who responded to that bid. It was not the contractor's fault. We changed it, just as we've done for all the generators and all the different specific pumps we've done. If you look at every contract we've done where a specific item has been dictated, we have done the similar thing. It would be not legal for the city of Port Huron to have its contractors avoid paying sales tax by billing us directly for parts and materials and never billing it themselves. You have every contractor saying, here's bills for all your parts and material, and then we'll bill you for the labor so they can avoid sales tax. So it would be quite the opposite if we did not do this.
Any further discussion? So I'd just like to clarify that any tax-exempt organization, be it the city, government, nonprofit, unless they are purchasing something directly, that is the only time that they are tax-exempt. So we have to go out and purchase any item directly. Anytime something's being purchased from another organization or a contractor or a partner, that partner is not the tax-exempt entity, and therefore they do have to pay that sales tax. I work for a nonprofit. I've been in the nonprofit business for 32 years. As an employee, if I go out and purchase something for the organization, it can be tax-exempt. But if I'm purchasing on my own at the same place or the same item, I still have to pay the tax. The same thing goes for if I have a contractor come in to do renovations in our building or anything of that matter, they have to pay the sales tax. Correct. So I just want to clarify that because I have worked with tax-exempt for 32 years now. And yes, it was our error, and I understand where Ken is coming from. However, I can attest to the fact that unless we are purchasing directly, we are not tax-exempt. It is against the law for anyone to use our tax-exempt status to purchase anything as well.
So, so is it...
Councilmember Ashford.
Yeah, so is it a matter of error, or is that the way we're choosing to do business?
We always do, whenever we do our bidding, we always put it up, and when we specifically say we want a GenCat, this, and this generator, specific part from a specific firm, which sometimes we're very specific on operations, we always put an allotment in there for sales tax. This was simply not done. So any bidder would have had that adjustment made.
Okay, so yeah.
So it was our error and not adding the sales tax in.
Correct.
Any further discussion or questions? The clerk will take the roll, please.
Councilmember Harris?
No.
Councilmember Pemberton?
Yes.
Councilmember Warden?
No.
Councilmember Ashford?
Yes.
Councilmember Beeden?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Archibald?
Yes. Resolution number 2, please.
Approving the multi-year agreement with Rowe Professional Services Company for professional engineering services for the rehabilitation of 16th Street, Scott Poplar, and the Edison Shore sanitary pump stations.
Do I have a motion?
So support?
Councilmember Ashford, Councilmember Pemberton. Any discussion? Clerk will take the roll.
Councilmember Pemberton?
Yes.
Councilmember Warden?
Yes.
Councilmember Ashford?
Yes.
Councilmember Beeden?
Yes.
Councilmember Harris?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Archibald?
Yes. Resolution number 4, please. 3.
Approving
Skipped
the
one.
proposal from Kennedy Industries Incorporated for professional services for the routine maintenance of the sanitary pump stations and the wastewater treatment plant.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Councilmember Beeden, is there a second?
Support.
Councilmember Pemberton, any discussion? Clerk will take the roll, please.
Councilmember Warden?
Yes.
Councilmember Ashford?
Yes.
Councilmember Beeden?
Yes.
Councilmember Harris?
Yes.
Councilmember Pemberton?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Archibald?
Yes. Resolution number 4.
Approving the agreement with L'Oreal Ross Sterling Entertainment Incorporated to provide event production services during the 2020 Rockin' the Rivers music event.
Do I have a motion?
So
Councilmember Beeden, Councilmember Pemberton, any discussion?
Madam Mayor Pro Tem, this is the same firm we always use. They do an excellent job for us, and we lock them up early so they get a good price.
Could we have Nancy Windsor come up and give us a rundown of the events for the month of August?
Mayor Pro Tem and City Council, we did just release our schedule, and I know I gave it to each one of you, and I know everyone always waits to know what we're doing, but our first week going to be an 80s band called Rockstar. The next week we're going to do a Journey tribute, Capture Detroit, Next week will be a Credence Clearwater Revival. I never could say that word. And then the next week, we've got Your Generation back, because they haven't been back in a couple summers. So looking forward to the heat and lots of fun on the river. So thank you.
Thank you. Any discussion or questions? The clerk will take the roll, please.
Councilmember Ashford?
Yes.
Councilmember Beeden?
Yes.
Councilmember Harris?
Yes.
Councilmember Pemberton?
Yes.
Councilmember Warden?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Archibald?
Yes. This concludes the business of our regular meeting. I do have a couple announcements. The first is winter decorations in Lakeside Cemetery must be removed from the cemetery plots by March 31st. Removal of any remaining items will begin on April 1st. And on behalf of myself and the rest of council, I would like to wish our city manager a happy birthday.
The only thing good at 35 is a bottle of scotch.
Anyone on council have any other announcements or anything that they'd like to bring up?
Mayor Pro Tem?
Councilmember Warden.
I guess reminder to, and thank you to the city clerk. Tomorrow, I think she's already had is an election, one of the election days to start it off, and I'm sure you're going to the citizens out there be out there throughout the day. If they wish to cast a vote, they can get out there and do it. Also, just wanted to say a couple things. Again, the local community. I think the Port Huron Big Reds girls basketball team again finally made it almost to the championship there. It was a 21-1, I think, or 22-1 record, outstanding. Also, the Port Huron Northern men's basketball team, as well as the hockey team, just finished this last weekend. I think just coming up just a little short, but it was a great representation for our community, competing into the districts there, the regional districts. So a lot of things going on. One, McMorran Theater and McMorran Auditorium, we were pretty busy this past weekend. It looked, I think there was shows there. Willy Wonka looks like it was well attended to. And I also was trying to look it up, but there was I think the Port Huron Figure Skating Club had their ice show there in the McMorran, Maine, and it's just another one of those things that, you know, this facility is a multi-use. It's a community center. Even if it's not on everybody's radar to go to some of these things, it's amazing some of the community and the events that are going on there and around our community. Thank you. Oh, and also the St. Patrick's Day the parade is this Saturday, downtown Port Huron, and of course I think there's the Leprechaun run beforehand for some of the people doing the little wake up and go for a 5K, I think, 2K, 5K, 10K. But the parade out there, and then of course our one of our local community festivities is of course the Port Huron pub crawls. Well, everybody should hopefully be safe, be in there, have fun, and be friendly. So, and the police department appreciate. I think they'll be out there as well. And usually, let's make sure this year again we have another great year of very little to no events. That'll be great. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Archibald.
Councilmember Beeden.
Next week, the National Junior College Association is having their women's basketball tournament here. It's a national tournament, so there's going to be 16 teams from across the country in Port Huron. I know I do like to watch basketball. I don't have a very good layout, but I'm excited to go and attend some of the games next week. So if the community is out, I think it'll be great to show support for those teams. I know SC4 has worked really hard to get this in our community. And I know that Cynthia is working hard with our downtown businesses to promote activity downtown, and I know our businesses are rallying around and offering support. So I'm excited to see our own little March Madness here in Port Huron next week.
Excellent. Anyone else?
Mayor Pro Tem, I was just wanted to inquire about, the carnivores, the virus that's going around. Have we thought anything ahead of that?
Yes, I have, next week, I have a task force meeting with the health department, the 2 CEOs of the hospital, the SC4, the school district, our police department, and fire department will be holding a roundtable on how we will respond when inevitably it comes to our community. And so I bring in a assemble of all of our healthcare leaders and schools and to see what we'll do. So we'll have that meeting next week.
I'm glad to hear that, and I'm sure that other residents are too. And then also the gentleman that addressed us during the public hearing was talking about the bike path and structure, and I think that's an opportunity that is given to us as a council. We pay a good membership for SIMCOG, and what the people don't know is that Pauline Rupp is our representative there, and our representative anyway. We can actually always call on them to make a presentation. It don't take, about 10 or 5 minutes or something to give them some education about what it is, what we do, and investigating, the bike structure and what we do and what we're doing. So it's never that we sit here and rubber stamp something. We do have, at least I do have in my possession, a lot of information that they do the work, and I review it and make sure that we're, in step with what they're doing. So maybe in the future, when these things come up, that you could see ahead, if you don't mind, and not if you don't mind, you work for us, but I'd like to suggest you do that, have that, and we could be a little bit more proactive than we've been doing. Okay?
Absolutely. And I would also note as well on some of the statistics given when filling out a accident UD10 form or something for anything where a bicycle is either there or at the scene is noted, so that I think his statistics are remarkably off, but.
Yeah, I noticed that, but you don't tell, tell somebody that's doing that, and he mentioned that, and I knew it was not true, but it's not all the time that he has to. That's why I'm asking you to follow up and do some work behind that. And then I'd like the opportunity to thank our city clerk. I actually serve on the MML elections where we reviewed the bills and Senate bills and the House bills, and she gave me quite a bit of help. Cindy, thank you very much on a litany of bills, because we have a lot of new laws that have come in front of us as far as the election, and she was able to give me some insight to add to the conversation, so I appreciate that. So things are changing, and we just have to be a little bit more proactive up here and letting other people in to know what we know, so they can accept that difference. So thank you so much.
Anyone else have anything to add?
Mayor Pro Tem Archibald. So if I could add a few things today. So tomorrow is Election Day, so I just want to remind everybody that the polls are open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. It is a closed presidential primary, so what that means is you do need to designate in writing which ballot style you would like. I also wanted to provide a little update on our absentee ballots. With Proposal 18-3 in 2018, it did eliminate those statutory reasons for applying for an absentee ballot. So you no longer have to meet one of those reasons, so any individual who would like to be on that permanent absentee ballot list, they can contact the clerk's office. And what we do is we actually send you out the application prior to the election. You still need to complete that application, get that back to us, and then we mail you out that ballot. So 4 years ago, we had approximately about 850 absentee ballots that we issued for the presidential primary, and we are up to about 1,500 this year. So we have seen a large increase. I do anticipate the November election will probably be around 3,000 to 4,000 absentee ballots. So it's going to be a lot of my staff, and they're doing a phenomenal job issuing those absentee ballots. So I'm going to give them a little bit of a shout out too.
With that, I also encourage you to get out and exercise your right to vote. And I do want to say, Councilmember Warden, yes, with pub crawl, have a great time, but please be safe. And if there's nothing else to be brought before council, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Thank you, Councilmember Ashford. Meeting is adjourned.